guided by the fighter mentor. Most people don't ruin their lives because of one big mistake. They ruin them through repeated small compromises. 5 minutes here, a distraction there, a decision put off because it seemed too small to matter. The problem is that the mind doesn't break down when something big happens. It breaks down when it stops noticing what's building up. Discipline exists to interrupt this invisible buildup, not to turn life into a prison, but to prevent excess from making decisions for you before you even realize it. If this makes sense to you, hit the like button, turn on notifications, and subscribe to the channel. There's a question that almost no one asks. What are you repeating every day without realizing it? Because in the end, it's not what you do just once that shapes your life. It's what you allow yourself to repeat. Mental health isn't just about resting. It's about preventing burnout from becoming the norm. When excess becomes routine, the mind stops asking for help. It begins to believe that living in a state of exhaustion is a natural order of things. That's what someone discovered in a place where a single oversight could cost far more than just time. Before dawn, at a rescue base in a mountainous region, a person went to the same row of equipment every day, checking it. Ropes, carabiners, flashlights, batteries, radios. Nothing seemed urgent. Nothing seemed dramatic. Even so, each item was checked as if it were going to be used that very morning, because sometimes it would be. Those who worked there had learned something that almost no one likes to accept. The biggest problems rarely begin during a crisis. They begin long before that, when someone decides that a little care can wait. So, every day the same thing happened. Check, verify, save, review, no applause, no immediate reward. At first, it seemed like overkill. Then, it seemed like responsibility. In the end, it became peace of mind. Because those who prepare their minds before an emergency suffer less when the emergency finally arrives. Discipline, in that place, wasn't harsh at all. It was about precision. It was about respect for the future. It was about the maturity to understand that stability almost always arises from small, repeated actions before they even seem necessary. The same pattern emerged in a different form in an environment where haste destroyed precisely what one was trying to preserve. At a biological preservation center, there was a room where fragile samples were analyzed every day. Nothing there could be done quickly. The lighting was controlled. The temperature was controlled. Even the observation time was controlled. The person in charge of the lab had a strange habit. Every 50 minutes, he would stop, he would stand up, he would take a breath. He would write down what he had done. Only then would he continue. Many thought that this would reduce productivity. The exact opposite happened. Errors went down. Burnout went down. Anxiety decreased. Because when the mind never gets a break, it starts to generate restlessness instead of clarity. Focus works this way, too. It's not about staying busy. It's about staying present. It's about continuing to focus on what matters long enough for the right path to emerge. And when that happens, attention ceases to be a struggle and becomes direction. Some people spend their entire lives trying to speed up results. Others learn to protect processes. The second approach seems slower, but it almost always goes further, because it doesn't waste energy fighting against what takes time. If this makes sense, give it a like, click the bell icon, and subscribe to the channel. It was this very same logic that later appeared in the most ordinary of places, and perhaps that's exactly why it's the most important. At a night shift distribution center, one person had a strange habit before ending their shift. They didn't rush off to clock out. They didn't try to finish one more task. They walked slowly down the main aisle of the empty warehouse. They looked at the shelves. He checked to see if the carts had been put away. He adjusted a box that was out of place. He turned off the lights in one section before moving on to the next. None of that changed the productivity of the day, which was already over, but it completely changed the way he started the next day. Over time, something began to happen. My body stopped coming home still caught up in work. My mind stopped replaying tasks that were already finished. The feeling of always being behind began to fade, not because my routine had become lighter, but because, for the first time, there was a clear distinction between what needed to continue and what could finally be left behind. That's the point that almost no one realizes. The most important discipline isn't the one that makes you carry more weight. It's the one that teaches you to stop carrying what has already served its purpose. Because not every effort needs to be sustained indefinitely. There are thoughts, worries, and responsibilities that belong to a specific moment, and that, when held on to for too long, cease to be helpful and begin to drain your energy. Maturity isn't about carrying everything to the limit, but about recognizing the moment when letting go becomes a form of protection, clarity, and continuity. Mindful productivity isn't about beating the clock. It's about preventing the clock from beating you from within. It's about building a rhythm without turning every day into a battle. It's about understanding that doing more doesn't always mean making better progress. It's recognizing your own limits before they turn into burnout, organizing your energy with intention, and preserving the clarity needed to keep going. Because true consistency doesn't come from constant rushing, but from the ability to stay the course without losing yourself in the process. Breathe now. Slowly. Breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. Feel your body let go of some of that urgency. There's a quiet strength in those who learn to observe their own lives before they go off track. It is not weakness. It is not slowness. It is emotional intelligence applied to reality. Those who learn to stop reacting to everything, and they begin to choose. And that's when something changes. The day is no longer a place where you try to survive. It becomes a space where you begin, little by little, to build, not through force, not through haste, but through the conscious repetition of what truly sustains you. Because the most profound change rarely happens when you decide to start. It happens when you decide to keep going, even when no one is watching, even when it doesn't seem important, even when the results haven't shown up yet. That's exactly where new life begins to take shape.